Hello guys, welcome to Copverse. So today we will solve a question which was asked in Deloitte. Before looking into the question, let's see what data we were given. So we were given two tables. One is called sales and other is called products. So if I run this query, select star from sales, then this is the data we have. We have a product ID, we have the sales year, we have the revenue. So basically each row of this table gives you the sales made in an year for a particular product, right? Now if you look at this second table, that is products, then we have three columns here: product ID, product name and category, right? Now let's see what the question is saying. So the question says, write a SQL query to identify products whose total sales revenue has increased every year from 2019 to 2021. Output should contain product ID, category, name, year, total sales revenue. So what we have to do here is we have to identify the products whose sales revenue has increased year over year from 2019 to 2021, and then the output has to be in this particular format. Okay. So before writing the query, let me tell you a few things that how we will solve this question, and I'll tell you about few caveats that you should consider while you're dealing with the real world data in such cases. So let's get started. So let me first run this sales table. So here we have this product ID, sales year and sales revenue. Now if you look at this particular product, which is product 1, then in 2019 the sales was 1000, in 2020 it was 1200, in 2021 it was 1100. So we can see it increased, the sales increased from 1000 to 1200, then it dropped. So this product should not be in our output, right? Now if you look at product 2, then the sales was 500 in 2019, then it became 600, then it became 900. So it has continuously increased. So this product should be in our output. Similarly, we can look for product 3 as well, right? Now in this case we have to basically compare the this particular year's sale with the previous year, because once we are able to compare, then only we will be able to tell whether it has increased or decreased. So how we will deal with this is we will bring an additional column here beside this revenue, and in that column we will have the previous year sales numbers, and then we can compare these two cells, this revenue, and let's call that other column that we'll bring here is previous revenue. So if we are able to bring that column here, then we can just compare this cell with that cell and say whether in this particular year the sales has increased or not as compared to previous year, right? Now when I say this, I have to bring the previous year numbers beside this column. Then one thing that should click in your mind is that you can use here the lag function, right? So let's see how we can bring the previous year numbers beside this cell and then compare it to identify whether in this particular year the sales or the revenue numbers increased or not. So let me get started. So let me write select from what. So for now we will select from just sales, and what all will we select? We will select a product ID, we will select sales year, and let us select revenue, and then let us select one more column which we will call as previous revenue. So this will be our previous year revenue. I will tell you that what we can write here, but we also have to filter this data. So the question is saying that you have to get the numbers only from 2019 to 2021. So although in our data set we don't have data before or after 2021, before 2019 and after 2021, it is fine, but in real world you will have data for more years, right? So I'll put the condition, where condition here, where sales year between 2019 and 2020. This will filter my data only for these years so that we can compare or we can test for only these years, right? Now coming back to this column which I have called previous revenue. So in this column what I have to get is I have to get the previous year's revenue beside this particular revenue. For example, in this case, for second product ID 2, in this row, which is 2021 row, I want to get this 600 value beside this so that I can compare this 900 with 600. So what I'll do is I'll use the lag function here. So I'll say lag. In lag, I'll pass two arguments. First argument will be the variable which I want to bring in that right column, that is revenue in my case, and I want to specify how much lag it should be there. I will say that lag should be only of 1. This says that only go to the previous row and not like 2 row back or 3 row back. If I write 2, then it will go 2 row back. However, in our case, we don't have, no, in our case we have. For example, 900, if I would have said 2 here, then it will go to this particular row and it will bring 500 here. For now, I just need previous year data, so I'll just specify 1, and then we will write over, and then we will write partition by. And what do we have to partition by? We have to do it for each product, right? So we will partition by product underscore ID, and we will do order by what? Order by sales year in ascending order. What it will do is it will look at only this section of data that is for each product, and it will order that data by sales year in ascending order. So that is 2019 will be first, 2020 will be second, 2021 will be third, and then it will bring this column which will contain the previous year's revenue. Let me run this and then it will become more clear. So when we run this, everything should run fine. Yes, my bad, this should be 2021. Let me run this again. Yeah, now this should be fine. Okay, so now here what we can see is if we look at product 1, then there was no previous year, so it is saying null, and in this row it is showing us 1000, which is 2020. So it is looking at this previous row and it is bringing this revenue value over here. Again, if you look at 2021, then it should bring this 1200 over here. Similarly, for product 2, you can see in 2019 there was no previous year before 2019 for product 2, so it has null. In 2020, then it has 500, which is previous year value, and in 2021 it has 600 as the value, which is previous year value, right? Now this is where our next step comes. Now before moving on to the next step, one thing I would like to say here is that in our particular data, we had data only for 3 years, 2019, 2020 and 2021, and all the 3 products which we have in this data have the data for all 3 years, right? However, in our actual data, it might happen that this 2020, let's say for product 2 is not there. There was no sales in 2020. We had sales in 2019, then directly in 2021. So in that case, you will have to insert a row for this data, or you will have to generate a row for this second product for 2020 as well. And that the way you generate it should be very generic. It should not be very specific that you are figuring out each and every product for which the year is missing and then you are generating the row. So for actual data, you will have to generate missing rows for all the products so that you can do the correct comparison. I leave that part to you. You can write the query in the comment section that how you will generate that additional row which is missing for any of these products. Okay, so I'll jump back to this query again. However, fundamentally how we are solving it would remain same, but you will have to do some additional steps here, which I'll leave it to you. You can just mention in the comment section, and if you are not able to do it, then I'll maybe create a video on that, right? Okay, now I'll jump to the this query again. Yeah, so we have the previous year revenue in this column. Now what we have to do is we have to identify the products in which case the previous year revenue was greater than the current year revenue. If we can identify such products, then we can exclude such products from this data, and we will preserve only products whose revenue increased year over year, right? So what we will do is we will compare the rows here, and let's see. let's see here. Yeah, let's see here. So for product 1 we can see that 1000 is less than 1200. That means there was a growth. If you look at this row, then 1200 was less than 1100. That means previous year as compared to previous year our sales has dropped. So we identified this product where the sales has dropped. And if you look at product 2, then the sales increased, 500 became 600, 600 became 900. So we'll preserve this product. And for product 3, 300 became 450, but then 450 became 400. So we'll exclude this product also. So we can identify such rows where there is a drop in revenue compared to previous year, and based on those rows we can identify these products, and then we can exclude these products so that we only have products where in all the rows this particular revenue is greater than this, except for obviously the first year, that is 2019. So apart from that, everything else should be greater than the previous revenue. So now let's try to apply that filter on this data and try to get our output, which is particularly this product ID, category, name, year, total sales revenue. Okay, so let me enclose this data point or this part of my query into a CT, and maybe let's call it as with previous previous revenue column. Let's call it this, and then let's use this CT to write a query further. So next I'll say select from what? Select from previous revenue column. And now we also need that in the data, this category, this name, this product ID already we have, but these two things, category and name, will come from products table, right? So what we will have to do is we'll have to join this with our products table. So I'll do left join with products on, I'll say this as P, I'll call this as PRC. So this will be as P on P dot product ID equals to PRC dot product ID. So we will join it on this, and then we will select what? We will select our columns which we need. What all we need? We need product ID. Let's select it from our PRC. Then we will need what else do we need? We need category, name, year. So we will connect, say P dot category, we will say P dot product name, we will say PRC dot sales year, right? We have sales year. Then what else? Total sales revenue, and we will have PRC dot revenue. Great. So let me first run this query, then we will see what we have to do next. So let me run this whole query basically first, then we will only focus on those products which have continuous growth over the years. So yeah, it has joined the data, and we have the product ID, category, product name, sales year, revenue. But we don't want to keep all the products, we only want to keep where the revenue has grown from 2019 to 2021. So now let's write that logic. So in this we will have to filter out the data. So we will write where product ID, let's say PRC dot product ID, not in. So we will use not in here, and we will write a subquery here, so that within that subquery we can identify those products where the revenue has not grown over the years. So we will write in the subquery select, let me write this first and then I'll explain. Select from what? Select from this previous revenue column, PRV revenue column, this particular table where where what you have to say. So let me run that particular query once again so that we can understand it better. Yeah, so now we have to select those products where our previous year revenue was basically greater than what? Greater than this year revenue. So in this we will say previous revenue greater than what? Revenue, right? And what we will select? We will select distinct. Let's select only distinct product ID. So this particular subquery will give me the distinct product IDs. It will look at each row. So it will look at this row and it will see that okay, the previous year revenue was less than this year revenue, so it will not return this row. But when it looks at this particular row, then it will say 1200 is greater than 1100. So it will say okay, let me return this particular revenue for this particular product ID. Sorry, so I'll have the product IDs here in which this condition satisfies. And I think we should also put here equal to sign, because we want to see growth. If it has not grown, then also we'll like to exclude such products as well, right? So I'll put a equal to sign also here. So now what it will do is this where condition will look for products which are not in not returned by this particular subquery, and it will give me the remaining products, right? Let me run this query again. Yeah, so now you can see we have only got the product ID 2 with all the required columns, because product 2 was the only case where the sales was continuously increasing from 2019 to 2021, right? So I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to share your query in the comment section, where you have to consider a case. What if the data did not have a particular year in between, which could be, for example, 2020 in case of product 2, which is a real world scenario which you should know how to handle, right? So again, thank you so much. Just let me know if you have any questions on this. Bye bye.